I've been looking forward to this part of the program for a long time, ever since we made the decision to split the commencements in order to be safely spaced tomorrow. Normally this would occur tomorrow morning, but it's a very special evening for graduate education. And I think tonight's keynote speaker is clearly the best example of dedication towards graduate education. Our keynote speaker this morning, or this afternoon, this evening, whenever we are, is Dr. Kim Carlson. She's a UNK professor of biology and advisor for molecular biology comprehensive majors. There are very few people on our campus that do not know Professor Carlson, and I think for all the right reasons. Her enthusiasm for everything UNK, her commitment to and passion for her discipline, her energetic teaching and mentoring of students in the classroom and in the laboratory, at both the graduate and undergraduate levels, and quite frankly, beyond graduation. Her extensive work and research as a molecular geneticist with a background in aging, developmental biology, and immunology, her willingness to share her research with colleagues, students, her extensive record of publications and presentations, and her willingness to commit herself to nearly any and every project she's asked to serve. It makes it very hard not to know Kim Carlson. She really is UNK. She received her Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Education from the University of Nebraska-Kearney. She earned her doctorate in Biological Sciences, Genetics, Cellular, and Molecular Biology from UNL. In 2003, she joined the faculty here and since has made a tremendous difference in the lives of students and colleagues. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you this evening Professor Kim Carlson.
A little bit shorter than the Chancellor is. I'd like to thank Dean Ellis and Assistant Dean Bice for providing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'd also like to thank Chancellor Christensen, Regent Ferris, and Regent Kearney, President Carter, all the other administration, faculty, staff, students, family, and friends for being here. This truly is a special night. All I can say is wow. I was sitting where you graduates are, and while I sat there, I never once thought that I'd be on this stage giving this speech. It truly is an honor to deliver a speech that none of you are ever going to remember. As a scientist, I have proof. Go ahead, ask me. Ask me who gave the address when I got my master's degree. No clue. I looked it up. No idea. Found a lot of other things, but not who gave the commencement address. I do remember something, though, from that day. When graduation was over, my parents and I, my dad and my stepmom, we were out by the concession stand up there. And my father looks at me and he says, "Was it worth it?" I had no idea how to answer him. But after I prepared for this speech, I now do have an answer to that question. But before I get there, like I do everything, we have to take the long way there, and I have to give you some background and some context. So I was raised the second oldest of two alcoholic parents. My parents divorced when I was in the 5th or 6th grade. I don't really remember. I lived with my mom and my 3 siblings. And in the summer before my sophomore year of high school, we moved back to my mom's hometown so that we'd be near my grandparents and my mom's family. Now that worked out okay for me. I was okay with that because I was constantly being removed from my mother's house and placed in my grandma's house. This went on constantly until close to the end of my sophomore year of high school, when my mom and her boyfriend kicked me out of the house. Yep, imagine it. 15 years old, come back from grandma's, your clothes are flying out the upstairs window. That's what I came home to. But I was lucky. I got to go live with my aunt and uncle, my cousin, who was more like my sister. It was probably one of the best days, best times of my whole entire childhood, with one exception. During my junior year of high school, my older sister, who was a senior at the time, wanted to go on a school tour of Kearney State College. She asked me if I'd like to come with her, and I thought, well, that'd be a really good idea. So, like good students, we went to the high school principal, and we asked her if we could have the day off of school to come tour Kearney State College. She sat there, she looked at us, she said, "You are white trash like your mom, and you will never amount to anything. So why waste Kearney's time?" Not a very motivating speech at all, especially when all your friends are sitting right there listening to it. Now, to make matters worse, a few months later, my dad called me at school and told me that when the year was over, I was coming to live with him. There were no arguments, there was no compromise, there was no discussion. Now, on the plus side, I was to be reunited with my two younger siblings from my mom, who were dropped off in the middle of the night on my dad's front porch. My older sister would also come to live there before she headed off to college in the spring. Now, in addition, I would be living with my new stepmother, my bonus sister, and two little half-brothers, my youngest brother being 15 years younger than me. So I only use those terms, bonus and half, for this story, because my three brothers are my three brothers. My three sisters are my three sisters. It was an interesting year. My dad still drank. We had six kids, and two parents in a house with one very small bathroom. You could go to the bathroom, wash your hands, and wash your feet in the bathtub all at the same time, okay? It was hectic, but I got really close with my siblings, and that's continued to this very day. They and their spouses and all my nieces and nephews are very important to me, and I am super proud to be the older sister to such a fine group of crazy, crazy people. So I graduated high school, and I still chose to attend Kearney State College, never having visited it. My sister was here, and I just wanted to be far away from home. 3 hours down Highway 30 was far away from home. I lived in Ludden Hall. It no longer exists. There I met my lifelong friend, my brother from another mother, Rob Lash. He's still my friend. He and I were on the Ludden Hall Welcoming Committee, and a year later, we were sitting there welcoming in the new freshmen. I saw this boy walk in the front door of Ludden Hall. I turned to Rob and I said, "I'm going to marry that man someday." Now I'll tell you, Darby Carlson was not on board for this for about a year. And if you ask him, he will tell you he only gave in so that I would quit stalking him. Okay? So I also met a wonderful group of people who treated me not only like a student, but they treated me like family. These were the faculty of the biology department. My senior year, when I lost all of my financial aid because of some crazy stuff the government did, it was Dr. Linda Spesser-Schuth who went with me to financial aid to get back my financial aid so I could finish. I then went on to do my master's degree at UNK because I had no idea what it was I wanted to do with my life. And while we were here, and I was a graduate student, along with my husband. He wasn't my husband yet. He hadn't given in yet. We didn't have much money to eat. So it was Dr. Doug Lund, Dr. John Hurtner, and Dr. Paul Twigg who always invited us over to eat. Now, it was on one of these nights when I was eating over at Dr. Twigg's house, I was complaining to him that my wisdom teeth hurt. Well, he had a solution, and that night I learned the difference between butterscotch and scotch. They're not the same thing, and I will never make that mistake again. It was also Dr. Steve Rothenberger and Charlie Bisek that taught me that field classes can be fun, as long as there's a pancake feed after you get out of the field. It was Dr. Joe Springer who taught me how to use that new fancy piece of equipment, the computer, to write my thesis. These faculty and many more helped me whenever I needed help. They believed I could earn a PhD. And when I told Dr. Lund that someday I was going to come back to UNK and take his job, he said, "I sure hope so." So after getting my PhD at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I went to the University of Nebraska Medical Center and did hardcore research in HIV. In 2002, Dr. Paul Twigg called me and asked me if I wanted to come back to UNK to teach genetics. Of course I did. This is my dream job. But there was a problem. I had just had my son, just bought a house, and my husband said, "Not on your life, not right now." Okay. So Dr. Bisek, who was the chair of the department at the time, called me. We talked, and he said, "We'll find a replacement for the year. You go through the application process, and hopefully we'll hire you." So, needless to say, my husband and I both returned to UNK in 2003, and we both teach in the biology department. Now, we are together 24/7. And for some reason, our offices always have to be next to each other. Currently, we're right next door to each other. Now, this works. This is the secret to a good marriage with someone that you're going to work with. It works as long as he knows I'm the boss. He doesn't have to accept it. He just has to know I'm the boss. Okay? Now, not everyone was excited for me to come back to UNK. One former faculty member said, "She was so loud. Do we really want her?" Well, Dr. Janet Steele had my back. She explained to this faculty member that I was loud because I was hard of hearing in my right ear. Now, I did not find this out until I was in the middle of my PhD program. I lost most of my hearing in my right ear because this was the side that my mom liked to hit me on when I was growing up. This information kind of changed this person's mind, and I'm glad I got a second chance. I guess this is a point in the speech where I'm supposed to give you some kind of mind-shattering advice or some words of wisdom, but all I can really offer you is this. Don't let anyone ever underestimate your abilities, and certainly don't ever underestimate yourself. If I did that, I would not be standing here talking to you today. If my older sister did that or took the advice of our principal, she wouldn't be a speech-language pathologist who owns her own company. In fact, if any of my siblings didn't believe in themselves, none of them would have college degrees. And yes, all 7 of us have college degrees, and a number of us have postgraduate degrees, including my brother, Mike Smith, who earned his master's degree in biology from UNK. So through the last 17 years or so, I have never doubted my choice to come back to UNK. My department chair, Dr. Julie Schaeffer, went to graduate school at UNL with me. She was my friend then, and she's still my friend. I knew we'd be lifelong friends when we were TAing general biology labs at UNL. We had a lab where you had to anesthetize rats, and Julie was not going to do this. I didn't care. I said, "Fine, I'll take care of the rats." So she went into her classroom to talk to her class, and I went to anesthetize the rats, and apparently a long time went by and there were no rats, and she came out and the rats were fine and I was passed out on the floor. So I apparently set something up wrong and I anesthetized myself and not the rats, so she got to do it anyway. So Julie was looking out for me then, and she still does to this day. "Julie, I know you can't be here with us tonight, and I'm thinking of you, but in a way I'm kind of glad you can't be, and that you didn't come here with your cooler of rotten tomatoes like you promised me you were going to." I have students who are more like family than students, such as Alexis Hobbs, who my children consider their sister, and who is now, a little thanks to me, married to Dr. Nick Hobbs from my department. I've had the pleasure of performing their wedding and a number of weddings for my former students. Yep, I'm an ordained minister. So if you're looking for someone to do your wedding, give me a call. Through the years, both my parents did quit drinking, but there were still struggles. In those times, I not only had my traditional family, but my UNK family there for me. When my mom died suddenly 2 summers ago, then my dad died suddenly 10 months later, and then my best friend in the world, my dog, died at the beginning of the school year this semester. Both my traditional family and my UNK family were there. Through everything, I always knew there was someone I could turn to. I'm so happy that my children have been given the opportunity to witness this. My son Zane just completed his freshman semester of his freshman year here at UNK, and my daughter Tori is looking forward to being a loper in a few years. A few weeks ago, I asked my friends on Facebook, what does being a loper mean to you? The overwhelming answer was the feeling of belonging to a family. Last week, I was in a meeting with a job candidate, and he asked us, what do you like about UNK? And Dr. Janet Steele answered it perfectly. It feels like home. I hope you all feel that way, not just today, but every day in the future. So looking back, I am glad I wasted Kearney State College and UNK's time and came to school here. And if I could go back to my master's graduation, when my dad asked me, was it worth it? I would say, more than anything you could ever imagine. Not only did I get a stellar education, but I am part of an extended family who will always be there for me and support me. Now, even though I earned my PhD at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I am a lifelong Nebraskan, I am not a Husker. I own absolutely no Husker or red gear. I am a loper. I bleed blue. I am proud of the education I got at UNK, but more than that, I am elated that I gained the loper family I have. So today, I would like to be the first to welcome all of you to the Loper alumni family. We will always be here for you. You can always come home. Congratulations and go Lopers.